Welcome back to another episode of No Ordinary Woman, where we recognise and celebrate women of all ages and all stages. I'm Fiona Briffa and I've got Dr. Monica joining me today. Now, Monica has a last name, but I wasn't game enough to pronounce it. So, Monica, you want to share that with us?
Yeah, it's Dr. Monica Rajasegaram.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So I'd just like to welcome Monica to the show. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Fiona.
It's an absolute pleasure. I've been following Dr. Monica on Instagram for quite some time and really interested in her story, but she's coming to share a little bit more of a background about her life and her no ordinary story with us today. Monica has two kids. She's got a 10-year-old in primary school and a 4-year-old as well. And Monica is a life and transformation coach, but she's also a medical practitioner as well. And we're going to talk a little bit about that transition, aren't we, Monica?
Yep, sure.
We are. So tell us, okay, so let me just paint the picture for everyone watching. Monica did all of her medical degree and she was a medical practitioner and decided to change and transition into coaching. Now, that was a huge decision, Monica. Can you talk us through that?
Yeah, it was a huge decision. And I'm not sure when exactly I felt, I guess, led to move into coaching. But like you mentioned, so I was a medical practitioner. I worked all the hours, the weekends, did all of that in different hospitals around Melbourne. So I trained at Monash and so worked around Victoria, both regional and in the city hospitals. But along the way, I guess I was a bit curious if there was something else apart from, this world that I was living in.
Yeah.
I've always been a very curious person, but I grew up in an Asian culture, and in the Asian culture, you commit to one profession and you stick to it till the day you die.
Yes,
So,
I've heard that.
so to speak, and I come from a family of medical practitioners. So, for me, I guess once I was in the job market, I, almost felt like, yep, this is where I'm going to be for the rest of my working life.
Yeah.
And I absolutely enjoyed it. I do trust that I was a good doctor. I was very committed to my patients and my work. But as I said, along the way, there was just this curiosity of, if there was something outside of this medical job that I was doing. And then came along my now husband, he was a friend then. So we met while we were working in a public hospital in a regional town in Victoria. And so we got along and we decided we were going to, get married and start a family at, in the future. So in that space, we were both in our training years. Work was hectic. We were working long hours, the weekends, we were barely seeing each other.
Yeah.
And we were engaged at that point. And along the way, just having this conversation with my husband, we got married soon after. And, we were just talking about what our future might look like. And we soon fell pregnant with my first girl and had her. And I was still working 4 days a week after that 1-year maternity leave. And it was all going really well. But when she hit about 1.5 and we were planning to, have another child, I think that was when my world changed, because that was when I experienced my first pregnancy loss. Oh. And it was traumatic because I guess, I didn't expect it. You often don't expect these things to happen to you. You hear and read about it. Funnily, being a doctor myself, I've looked after patients in this situation, but it's different when it happens to you. So I think that really sort of shook my world and just put life in perspective a little bit for me. Is this what I really want? Is this, the lifestyle I want? And yes, I was, living a good life, with a good income. We were comfortable. But yet, was my body trying to tell me something? That was one of the things I asked myself. Also, my child was young. She was only a 1.5 years when that happened. And again, you know, so this transition didn't happen overnight. It sort of took a few years. It was this slow burn. And, you know, I am a Christian woman, and I really felt that there was a shift happening, not just in my environment, but just within me as a person as well. I really felt that God was just growing me and purging some old stuff out, some old beliefs, you know, some cultural beliefs that I was obviously hanging on to. So then after a couple of years, I was still working as a doctor. We tried to have our second, but in that 4.5 years, I suffered 5 miscarriages. And
that's a lot.
That is a lot. And I think my body was just crying out. And I think it wasn't until my 3rd pregnancy loss, which was an ectopic pregnancy.
Oh, right. Wow.
It was hard. It was traumatic, not just for my body, for me mentally. You know, there was the fear of loss of life, and my medical team was you know, pretty much saying to me that afternoon when I presented that, you know, if I didn't show up that afternoon, things could have gone a lot different, you know, because it was
that can be quite life-threatening, can't it?
It is, it is. And you know, that was also, again, I feel that was God's protection, because I was in the midst of a working day, and I shifted a few patients around, and made space to go have my appointment, which wasn't meant to happen for a few more days. Right. So again, that I think these are the little signs that sort of was telling me something, but I was so, I guess, comfortable in my medical profession that I wasn't seeing anything beyond that.
It's like having blinders on or blinkers.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what? Thank God, I was okay. I obviously lost that pregnancy, but you know, my health was preserved. I didn't lose my tubes, and you know, all was well. I recovered well, and then came 2016, and I fell pregnant with my now 4-year-old. And had her in 2017, which was you know, such a beautiful time in our life as a family. And and that's when the transition really happened. Like that was I guess that you know, again, coming to a faith perspective, I felt those few years was a time in preparation. And then in 2017, when I was on maternity leave, a friend of mine had asked me to just, you know, have a chat with her. And I didn't realize what I was doing was actually called coaching. So I didn't know coaching existed. I didn't know what coaching was all about. You know, I was just simply talking to her as a friend. But obviously there was the trust, because, you know, I am a medical practitioner. So she trusted me not just as a friend, but as a doctor. And after that conversation, she turned around to me and said, "Mon, do you realize that what you've just done can really impact someone's life?" And I was like, "Really?" And she was like, "Yeah. And you know, you can actually make something out of this. You are a good listener. You're a good coach." I'm like, "A coach? That's interesting." You know, so here I was. I think it was just the start of Instagram or something like that. And, you know, just putting my, you know, just
Googling, what is a coach?
What is a coach? A hashtag, what is a coach? Life coaching. And, you know, I came across this beautiful lady who is in America. And she was a life coach, and she was also facilitating coach training. So I was just chatting with her, and long story short, she was like, "Oh, you know, I've got this training coming up if you would like to, you know, join us." And it was part of this coaching training called Life Breakthrough Academy in America. So I joined them. It was a few months and really loved it. I did there were a few different streams, but I did the one that suited me most. And that's how I transitioned. But I think what is interesting, and I think what I would love to share with your audience, Fiona, is that transition, although I was already coaching since 2018, I would say, once I, finished my certifications and stuff, you know, I don't think it was up to 2019 that I actually realized what I was doing.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
was actually comfortable in that space
Yeah.
of telling others that I'm coaching
Coach.
and
Yeah.
what I'm doing. Because up to then, I always, you know, would just, you know, go, oh yeah, I just coach on the side, like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but I have a day job, like, you know, that's the important thing.
Yes.
Don't, you know, forget that. But yeah, coaching, I just do that, you know, when I have a bit of time. But it was actually the opposite.
Yeah.
Because I was so unsure of what I was doing, I
Yes.
wasn't even sure of who I was, because
Yeah.
I was a new mom again to a second child.
Yeah.
So the family dynamics had, you know, obviously changed.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
was moving between careers. I wasn't sure who I was. I was
Yeah. It's
confused.
a hard transition.
It's a hard transition. And to add to that was the, I guess, resistance that I was feeling from the people close to me.
Yeah.
My husband, bless him, was the most supportive of all.
Yeah, that makes a
He
big
really,
difference.
exactly, and he really put value to what I was doing,
Yeah.
which I think for me was really important and what really helped me keep going.
Mm.
Because my family, like I said, come from a background of, you know, medical practitioners. My dad's a surgeon, my mom's a nurse. So, you know, there was always this expectation that, you know, okay, you're qualified now, you are building a good life.
Why would you change that? Yeah, that my biggest question to you is how do you have the courage and the strength to persist with that decision to change?
Yeah.
One, because of the financial and time investment that you've put in yourself, but also the like cultural and family expectations and what are they all going to say and do? Like, how do you overcome the fear of that? And what kind of is your process for that?
Yeah. So I think for me, yeah, I think that word fear came up a lot for me.
Yeah.
Just that fear of, am I doing the right thing
Yeah.
by myself, by my family? Am I putting myself in a space that I'm going to regret?
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely those questions came up for me. But, you know, along the way, a couple of things. I was coaching a few women that you know, I knew in my space, and I offered them, you know, just this experience for no cost.
Yeah.
And they gave me some really good feedback, you know, and I think that really helped me understand that what I'm doing is of value.
Yeah,
And
it is a thing.
it is a thing,
Yeah.
and it is a thing that can help someone else.
Yeah.
You know, and so that was one thing that helped. As I said, my husband was really supportive. And third, I think it was this just this inner knowing, and I think that comes from my faith.
Yeah.
I have seen God's hands over my life and my husband's life many times.
Yeah.
You know, so I think there was this inner knowing of this deep trust.
Yeah.
That even if I walked into this space of coaching and things didn't happen,
Yep.
even if, that's okay. Like, it's not the end all.
You want to follow what you feel like you're being called to do. It's
Exactly.
more of a calling pull rather than a career pull, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think, yes, spot on. I think that was the calling pull. And I felt, you know, when I used to finish my coaching sessions, there was just this sense of wow, you know, like, wow, you know, not just because I was able to help someone, but because I just felt so light.
Yes, you've actually lived out your true
Yeah.
self in helping somebody else. It's you've been you've let yourself flow through. So you feel like you're in your natural state, what I call flow.
Yes.
You're doing
yes.
what you're meant to be doing. It just feels completely natural, completely fulfilling, and completely normal.
Yeah. And I think part of the journey was also me finding myself, you know, getting to know who I was. And, you know, when I started coaching in 2018, my coaching looked very different to what it looks like right now.
Yes.
You know I bring so much more to the table now. You know, I bring so much more experience, not just from myself, but from the women I've coached. You know, so obviously as we mature and grow, there is, you know, going to be increase in that space. But I think personally for me, you know, I always lived by this, you know, I don't know whether it's just a thing that I always told myself, like, it's okay to do it scared. It's okay, to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that came from my medical years as well.
Yeah.
Because, going through med school wasn't easy.
You would have to overcome a lot of fears to do.
A lot of fears, and
that.
I still remember being a fresh doctor out of med school, making life decisions, right on the spot in front of
somebody else's life.
Exactly. And I remember the first couple of months, like, when the patients used to ask me, so what do you think I should do? I would like almost, some of the nurses used to tell me, Mon, you look like you're going to cry, but
what a massive responsibility though. And
it is.
But the good thing is, like we were mentioning off air, is that when you're a doctor, you're telling people what to do. When you're a coach, you're helping them work out what they want to do. Now, I feel like I'm practically a doctor because I've watched so many episodes of Grey's Anatomy. So I feel like I know the reality of what working in a hospital is.
Minus the love story.
It's like, I could never ever do that as a job, but it's like that as a doctor, you would be a coach and a counselor and all of those things already, apart, as well as those life altering decisions that you've got to make. That's got to be a lot of pressure. It's less, you get to do that now, but without the pressure of them making life and death. You're not making life and death decisions for them. You're just helping them make it for themselves. So it makes a difference. But I love that you have chosen the space of helping mums with their own businesses. And just for anybody watching, I'm going to leave a link to all of Monica's socials and website and books and everything below, so you can get to know a bit more. But you've obviously found a passion for helping mums that want to start a business, because you know what that's like and you've walked that journey yourself, and you're bringing all of your skills and your experiences together to help other women do what you're doing yourself as well, with a kid in primary school, a kid in under your feet half the time, and running your own business, but also doing it. What I love about coaching, and in your space in particular, is helping women starting a business. Great. Yeah, that's really cool. You don't realize how much you've got to overcome of your personal obstacles to be able to be effective at business. So you've got to be effective at being you first, right? So you're helping women overcome all those past things, like the traumas that you've been through. That carries through with you, doesn't it, into your everyday life, and you've got to overcome those things to be able to be effective in business. So just quickly, I know we're running out of time, like what's your advice to women out there watching, and I guess advice, but what are your top tips for women that need to overcome those things?
So the one thing I always tell the women I coach is to know the season that you're in.
I love that.
And then to respect the season that you're in.
Yeah.
So the women that I've coached before or are in my space, they will know this is almost something I live by. And I have seen it work time and time again.
Yeah.
If we respect the season that we are in, we will find things that will work for the season, and we will let go of things that don't work for the season.
So necessary. Oh, love that. Yeah.
Because I think as mothers and moms, building a business or, in leadership capacities or whatever, I think we are a very driven bunch.
Yeah.
And, we want to build that business, but yet we also want to build a home environment that is a healthy one and a nurturing one. And that is my heart as well. Like, one of the things that I remember in my pros and cons list, when I drew that, the 2 columns that you draw when you're trying to make a big decision.
Yep.
So I actually did that practice as well, but that exercise. But, one of the things that I remember telling myself is I want to build a business or a working lifestyle where I can be available for my children.
Yeah.
Because I am also married to a medical practitioner. And between the two of us, our lifestyle wasn't great, and something had to give. I grew up with, again, both parents being working parents, and they did the best they could to give us the best that they could, which meant a lot of absence on their part.
Yeah.
And that is not something I want to repeat in my family.
Yeah.
So when I made that decision, I really had to, drop those expectations of myself. And that's, one of the other tip that I would say is to allow yourself the space and the time to grow that business. Sometimes we want this quick growth. We want this quick, generating an income straight up. The fact is that things don't happen overnight.
Yes.
But it's not so much that, it's the expectations that we place on ourselves.
Yep.
That's where I think a lot of women get caught. And, when we fail to achieve that expectation, we then feel less than, we feel like failures. And then we, a lot of my clients go, oh, maybe I need to just close that business.
Yeah, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. Yeah.
Exactly. But hang on, let's go back to point number one. Do you know the season you're in? Are you respecting the season you're in? And to expand that, respecting your season, it means what supports are there around you? Are you tapping into those support systems? Are you asking for help? Do you have boundaries? Are you responding to emails at 10 p.m. when really you should be in bed?
Yeah.
Are you on your phone sharing a post when you are on the floor playing Lego with your children? These are all the things that add to the overwhelm. And personally, I don't say I was perfect, because these were the things that I did when I was building a business. But one thing, Fiona, that I probably didn't share was, as I was building my business 2018 and early 2019, when it started to really take off, and I was getting clients and speaking engagements and things like that, I reached a burnout phase. I had all these medical symptoms and I had all these tests and nothing was wrong.
I've been there.
He took a specialist, my husband's one of my husband's colleague, who saw me, and he said, is there things in your life that perhaps you might need to deal with? And bang, I was like, okay, I've got too much going on here. So, respecting the season that you're in, I know it can sound so cliche.
No.
But it's like a boundary you're setting for yourself. This is the season I'm raising young kids, and off air, I was sharing with you, I've got a 4-year-old, she's now 4.5. So she's moving out of that nappy stage, and always needing, need to be there physically. So now I am moving into a space where I can actually work 3 days a week while she's at kinder. That wasn't the reality in 2019.
So it's about managing those expectations of yourself during those seasons as well. So what you're capable of now, I think that's a really important message, to know the season you're in, how much are you actually capable of? So there's 3 points in what you've just said: knowing what you're capable of, depending on what season you're in, managing those expectations, but don't compare your success to somebody else's, because those quick wins are very, very, very rare. Very rare. And what looks to be success on somebody's Instagram page might not be actual reality anyway, because we can all pay for marketing and pay for things to be big and flashy when they're not actually. So I think don't compare your journey to somebody else's journey as well. I think those are really, really strong points. I love that. Know the season, respect the season, manage your expectations, and don't judge yourself based on somebody else's success. I think they're fantastic. Yeah. Amazing. I could just sit here talking to you all day, and I know that the attention span for watching YouTube videos is about 20 minutes, so I'm not going to drag this out, but I would really love to have you back to talk a little bit more around specifically some of the maybe biggest challenges for women, mothers starting businesses, and some of your top tips to go in a little bit more detail, if you'd be happy to come back and join for another one. But I just thank you so much for sharing your story as well. It's really amazing to see, behind every successful woman, there's a story. There's a no ordinary woman's story. Like, you have been through so many struggles and trials and triumphs yourself, and now you're helping other women go through the same. So thank you for the work you do. And thank you so much for coming on to the program to talk to us, Monica.
Thank you for having me, Fiona.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you for watching another episode of No Ordinary Woman. We will definitely get Monica back if she'll come back. And well, she has to now, because I've just made it public. She's going
I will be back.
Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.